Hi, I'm HERTANTI. I'm the Executive Director of Indonesia for Global Justice. And our organizations are working on the trade investment agreement for several years. And regarding the investor status with settlement, we also monitoring these issues for several years, especially when our government informed that they will terminate and review the bilateral investment treaty of Indonesia at that time. First, I'm really sorry that I cannot join with you all in Korea. I know that this meeting is really important to make interventions in the ancestral meeting, especially on the ISDS reform regarding the proposal of EU to push for a multilateral investment court to be discussed in this meeting also. So I hope this video can gives you some views about Indonesia experience and perspective for this case, and hopefully that my explanations can also contribute to the process of the discussions. Regarding the discussions on the ISDS and bilateral investment treaty, as you know that in 2012, in the era of Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, our previous president, the government of Indonesia believes that the bilateral investment treaty will give only a small advantage to Indonesia. Indonesia has experienced many claims by foreign corporations to exit. In addition to this, the investment protections agreement also proven not being able to guarantee increasing on the investment value in Indonesia. Indonesia has experienced several ISDS lawsuits in international arbitrations based on bilateral investment treaty which signed by Indonesia with several countries. From the total of incoming cases, 50% are in mining sector, such as Churchill Mining, Planet Mining, Newmont, India Metal Ferroalloys, and for sure that this sector is the top lawsuits that Indonesia ever had. And the Indonesian government awareness followed by conducting a proper and deep review of BITs, which is as the basis for terminations to all Indonesia BITs with all states. And for sure, the rationales for the review conducted by Indonesia are essentially similar to the rationales for reviews undertaken by other countries like South Africa, etc. And there are at least 4 main reasons why Indonesia reviewed and terminates their BITs. First, the review has been undertaken to strike a balance between investor protections and our national sovereignty. Second, most provisions of the existing international investment agreement are outdated, as they grant extensively broad protections and rights for foreign investors, leaving the host states with little to no policy space to implement its own development goals. And the third, one of Indonesia's greatest concerns regarding the international investment agreements is the provisions of the investor status to settlement, of course, which has increased Indonesia's exposures to investor claims in international arbitrations. And fourth, the last, is the provisions in international investment agreement may potentially override our national legislations. So, the adverse effects of these dispute mechanisms actually doesn't stop to stand. it also has negative impact on the country's or state budget of the if the government will sue billions of dollars to replace the losses suffered by the corporations. For example, in Churchill mining case, they sued the government of Indonesia around 1.2 billion US dollars. And we calculated that this number equivalent with almost equivalent with the allocations of subsidies for food in Indonesia, at least in 2015. And the claims itself very high for than the value of our seed subsidies for farmers. And of course, the losses of the state budgets will give a lot of impacts for the public funds, for their basic needs, how state can fulfill their basic needs from the allocations of the state budgets. About the review process, actually the review process took almost 2 years, expected to be able to release draft of templates of the investment protections agreement, which this draft would be a standard model to be used by the government of Indonesia in conducting various negotiations of the investment agreement on the bilateral level, regional level, as well as multilateral level. And yeah, the government claimed that Indonesia will aim to limit the scope of controversial investor protections provisions in terms of both substance and procedure. But until now, the government didn't release the draft of the new model E. So we are not really sure how significant the changes under the model of the IT. Until now, the civil society in Indonesia is still trying to get this new draft, how push for the transparency from the governments, at least the to ask the government give us the draft text, so we can ensure that actually the government of Indonesia is still on the track for the process of reviewing the model of it. In terms of ISDS reform in ancestral meeting, from our communications last June, the government claimed that they will actively participate in the forum. As they say that the discussions in the forum will be very important for Indonesia, where they will engage more in the process and present the review process and develop new templates that have been done by Indonesia. And of course, including to give perspective in criticizing the practice of ISDS. For us, actually, these commitments from the government of Indonesia is really important, and how to ensure that they will implement this regarding to not really push for this kind of mechanisms. So that is why in April 2018, we from the civil society sent a letter to the president and several ministers and pushed the government consistencies of the policy to have the IT review, and also to push them to not have any kind mechanisms of investor state settlement, anything, including the proposal of European Union on multilateral investment court or the investment court system itself. And for us, if the government of Indonesia agreed with this kind of mechanisms, so for us, of course, this could be a step back of the government of Indonesia's what already they have. So yeah, so for us it's really important how to monitoring and how to give interventions in the process and ensure that the government will not the government of Indonesia will not do something stupid and by agreeing something that's still connected with this injustice dispute settlement that we already know. So yeah, so this is the end of my presentations. Actually, I also sent a PowerPoint that perhaps could give you more information about the ISDS cases in Indonesia and some perspective from Indonesian sides. So that's it, and I hope it's really useful for you, and hopefully that this perspective can contribute to the discussions process in Korea. And good luck for the meeting, and yeah, say no to ISDS. Thank you. See you.